Hey guys, it is Tuesday. Happy second day of digital learning. I am going to go ahead and do Tuesday's lesson on Habitat. It is 10:45. Office hours have been going for about an hour now. I have messaged a few of you who are behind, and I've congratulated a few of you who are ahead. So thank you so much for those of you taking this seriously and working diligently. I am going to do our lesson in demonstration. I just fixed the comments on the YouTube channel, so you can now comment to ask any questions that you had about previous assignments. The remind is up and ready to go, so please message that if you have any questions. So we are going to start on today's lesson. And again, this is a student account. I created a fake lunch number. So I'm going to go in so you can see exactly what it looks like when you go. I'm in Humphrey's first period. It says we've had week one assignments. It says that I have completed 1 of 5 concepts. So I'm going to go to the next. Today's concept is habitat and niches. So I'm going to play, not finches, niches. So, and again, it does give me the option to go ahead and currently start practicing within an only estimated 3 minutes. But remember, we prepare before we practice. So I'm going to come down here. Again, I see that this reading had a 63% increase. So that looks like my best option. But if I'm not so much of a reader, I do also have some videos here. Well, we know competition, predation, and symbiosis. Those are all vocab words that we learned about in class. This looks like a fun real-life application. Well, we have ecology, what is a niche, if you have no idea what's going on. And then we have another video. So again, it shows the highest success rate. So I'm just going to peruse this real quick. Our goals for this are to define a habitat in a niche and describe the roles of those in an ecosystem. So I'm going to scroll down, kind of look at what I'm seeing here, see how much I have. It's not too bad. I got a video. Oh, we have multiple videos here. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. So our very first thing, it says, what's a niche in your school? So basketball team, cheerleader, do you play an instrument? So what it's kind of telling us is that there's a specific role in a group that you have. So we're going to look at what the definition here is. So remember, I have my tools, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my highlighter on as I begin to read. So each organism plays a particular role in an ecosystem. A niche is the role of that a specific plays in the ecosystem. So in our classroom, my niche is a teacher. Your niche is the student. It's the role that the species plays in that ecosystem. So in other words, it's how your organism makes a living. So ironically, before this happened, I made a living by going to school and seeing you every day, and you made a living by being a student. We're still doing those things. We're just doing them in a different ecosystem. So it will include the organism's role in the flow of energy. So we know that a what has the most energy available? Great job, a producer, exactly right. It also involves how the organism gets its energy. So if I'm a producer, I'm going to get my energy from where? The sun, very good job. And which usually has to do with what an organism eats, again, flow of energy, and how it passes that energy through the ecosystem, again, the flow of energy. An organism's niche also includes how it interacts, how the organism interacts with other organisms. So my interactions with you as students are professional, telling you to do your homework, messaging you to make sure that you have your online resources. My interactions with my peers right now is texting funny memes and saying, hey, is this happening to you? Do you guys have this problem? You know, kind of troubleshooting and helping each other out. So once that niche is left vacant, other organisms can fill that position. So the hilarity of this right now is that the niche of your teacher has been left vacant. So for most of you, your parents are having to fill in that position. I'm sorry to your parents. Hopefully you don't ask to go to the bathroom quite as often. John Price. So right there it says other organisms can fill that position. So it's not the end all be all of the world, but we're going to have to adapt in our ecosystem to make sure that all of those positions are filled, just like we are adapting our ecosystem right now to stay safe. So we're going to go down here and continue to read. It says the species niche must be specific to that species. So no two species can fill the same niche. So what that means is that the species that we are as a human, your niche of a teacher had to be filled in by another human. You can't have another species, aka a dog or a rabbit or a giraffe, all of a sudden be acting as your teacher. A human was in that niche, it needs to be replaced by another human. So while I'm gone, your parents or siblings or guardians are helping you to become your teacher. We can have similar niches, they can overlap, but there must be distinct differences between any two. So your dog, you can teach your homework to your dog, but your dog is not going to talk back, hopefully. I don't know how many days you're trapped in the house, he might start talking back. But if two species do fill the same niche, they will compete. So they will compete for all of the necessary resources. That makes sense, right? If you have two people trying to do the same thing, they're going to end up in competition. So when plants and animals are introduced either intentionally or by accident, so we do intentionally introduce some organisms into ecosystems. There's been a lot of cases of this happening where it obviously doesn't work out. Like they drop snakes in to get rid of a rat population, but then you have a snake problem, or you put kudzu in Atlanta to help vegetation and now it's overgrown everything. So these are very common problems. But they can occupy existing niches of native organisms. So we talked about in our quiz what happens when you introduce a foreign substance to an already established ecosystem. There's going to be competition. So that's basically all this is saying. Yeah, here, look, kudzu. And it controls soil loss. It's now completely out of control. And it overgrows everything. Okay, habitats. So we know that a niche is where you fit into the ecosystem. A habitat is a physical area where a species lives. A physical area where I physically live. My habitat right now is my house. Many factors are used to describe habitats. The average amount of sunlight received. So we have average sunlight, annual temperatures. And if I look over annual temperatures for 30 or more years, it's called what? Climate. Phenomenal job. Average yearly rainfall. And obviously we know that sunlight, temperature, and rainfall are all abiotic factors. The temperature and the amount of rainfall and the types of soil are significant roles in determining the plants that invade that area. So remember we've talked about climate is a very big determinant for biodiversity. We had that question on the quiz. It was the most missed. So remember, the desert, it's hot, it's barren, there's not a lot of water, aka there's not a lot of people living there. The temperate deciduous forest, which we live in, has tempered seasons, it recycles, it rotates, we have a lot of resources, there's an abundance of water, so a lot of people live there. So the abiotic factors, temperature, water, rain type, and soil. Oh, okay, calm down. We're not doing all that. Calm down. Temperature, stop. Rainfall and soil. Abiotic factors are part of the climate, and that determines heavily what biodiversity I'm going to have there. The plants then determine the animals that come to eat them. So if I have a good temperature, rainfall, and soil, and I can grow these things, and those animals will go hunt and find that food. And if they don't have food, obviously they'll have to adapt and go find food elsewhere. So a habitat is not an ecosystem. A habitat is an actual place within the ecosystem. So an ecosystem is Georgia, right? Or excuse me, an ecosystem is the classroom. The habitat is your desk. It is a very specific place that you were put there for a very specific piece. All right, so habitat destruction, it's what it sounds like. It's when a habitat's destroyed. This happens a lot with deforestation, clearing forests, building new condominiums against like coastlines and things. So you can have decreases in population, species can go extinct. You saw this when the Australia wildfires burned. That was a massive habitat for a lot of koala bears, and you saw that those are almost extinct or just drop their numbers increasingly. So yeah, be very careful with habitat destruction when you go into the woods. Make sure that you're not disrupting anybody's habitat, that you're not being a predator in the ecosystem. And here are some fun videos about a extinct snail. That's pretty cool. So let's look at our summary. It says the role of species played in an ecosystem is called a niche. The habitat and the physical environment is in which a species lives. Specific part of an ecosystem. Well, we already know competition, predation, and symbiosis. And let's look at our review. What is a niche? Well, we know a niche is a specific role in an ecosystem. Can two species share the same niche? Why or why not? So let's go back up and review the why or why not, though, because we know right here, it says no two species can fill the same niche. So no, but if they do, they will be competing for all the necessary resources. So no, they shouldn't. Why? Because they would be in competition and the ecosystem would be unbalanced. Let's continue back down. Name 3 factors that can be used to describe a habitat. Well, we knew these were all abiotic factors. So again, we knew from our reading, if we just scroll back up real quick, just to prove to you it's all here, we have temperature, rainfall, and type of soil. And lastly, our question is distinguish between a habitat and an ecosystem. A habitat is a very specific part of an ecosystem where a species lives. Remember, the ecosystem is our classroom. It has me, an organism, us, a population, my plants, which is a community, and then it also has the abiotic factors of the weather. But your desk in that ecosystem is your habitat. It's where you live. It's where your food and your system is provided. So I am going to actually extend